Well, hello there again, everyone. Hope everyone is well. It is yours truly, Whiskey Coach, back at it again for yet another whiskey review. Very, very excited about tonight's review. That being Jefferson's Ocean Aged at Sea Voyage number 3. So, I don't know if you guys know anything about this this bottling, the Jefferson. If you've probably even walked down a liquor store aisle, for the bourbon aisle, I should say, at the liquor store, you've probably run into Jefferson. They're a pretty big name in bourbon, and I would venture to say that they're probably growing in popularity. And the story goes that the gentleman who owns and operates and is the master distiller of Jefferson's was sitting on his boat some time ago, and he's watching his Glencairn, and the whiskey's just kind of rocking back and forth as the boat rocks, and he started to kind of contemplate how water or boats could possibly alter and enhance the flavor of a whiskey. And he went back to bourbon's early days, where they were loaded onto riverboats onto the Ohio River near Kentucky, which is the bourbon trail, the bourbon capital of the world. And they were loaded on these boats. They would travel down the Ohio, down to the Mississippi, all the way down to New Orleans. And from the point that they were loaded onto those boats to the end destination down in New Orleans, they had changed and matured and improved dramatically because of the swooshing and swashing and the interaction between the wood and the bourbon itself. They really became a much better product by the time they reached port down in New Orleans, thus Bourbon Street. That he started to think, man, I wonder if I put some barrels of my bourbon onto an ocean liner, what would happen? So a couple years ago, he did this. He only did maybe, 20 or 30 barrels, not many barrels. And he did it. And these were actually research vessels that were traveling all over the ocean. And, they were up and down and across the equator and near the poles and back and forth over months, and temperature fluctuation. And he put these barrels right on the deck of the ships. So they're exposed to all the elements, the sea breeze, the moisture, the precipitation, the humidity, everything. And his goal was to watch and see how those factors come into play and change the bourbon itself. So he did this, and apparently sales were good, but there weren't, again, a very, very limited release. So a year later, he did this again, and he did batch number 2. And that's what this one is. It's a very, very slight difference from batch number 3, which we're going to actually sample today. As you can see, the ship itself is a little different. Batch number 2 omits the word Kentucky straight there on the front. Lean over so you can see that. It just says straight, whereas 3 says straight. The back of the neck on 3 says Voyage 3. And 2, it just says batch number and bottle number. So that's how you can tell, by the way, if you do run into these. They are not easy to find, I will tell you that. They're not easy to find because I know batch 2, or Voyage 2, I should say, he didn't do as many as 3. More than 1, not as many as 3. 2's gotten great reviews. 3, from what I've heard, not as good. But I would venture to say if they continue doing this, he'll probably dedicate more and more bourbon to this venture, because apparently sales have been great. And at $80 a bottle here in the greater Cleveland area, they're making a good profit on these. So let's jump right into it. I'll read briefly the description on the bottle just so you're hearing it again from the horse's mouth. It says, what began as a fun experiment has resulted in a more scientific approach to the maturation process of bourbon. When whiskey was first distilled in Kentucky, it received unintentional extra age from traveling down the rivers and seas en route to market. This was just not due to the lengthy trips, but also the movement of the ship, which forced the liquid in the whiskey barrels to be in constant motion, coming in contact with the wood more often. At Jefferson's, we wanted to tip our hat to the tradition by aging bourbon at sea. We put fully matured bourbon on a ship and set it on its way across the equator 4 times, stopping at 5 continents, over 30 different ports. This process has added a salty caramel element that round out the bourbon's profile to create an American treasure that has been cultured as it traveled the globe. So, man, to me, that's a great little marketing gimmick, if you want to call it that. We'll see how it actually affects the bottle in the bourbon in the bottle. What I'm reading is that it's probably a 5 to 7 year bottle. It was on the ship for, what do they call it? I don't know if they tell you really exactly how long, but they say 5 to 10 months, but I've read somewhere that it's probably closer to 7 to 8, more specifically. So let's see. I'm really, really excited about this one, guys. As bourbon season is in full swing here on my channel, this is one that I wanted to find. I was lucky enough to find it. I then went on Bottle Spot. If you were looking for rare bourbons, whiskeys, check out Bottle Spot. It's kind of like a Craigslist for these hard to source bottles, and I picked up the Voyage 2. So I'm not sure if I'll actually try the Voyage 2, just because it's harder to come by, and I'm thinking it's going to be a little more collectible at some point down the line. If it's not, maybe I'll crack into it. On the presentation, we just kind of went over that a bit. It doesn't do that much for me. I like the wood cork a lot. I like that very much. We talked about the ships. It's kind of simple. I do like the name, the ocean name. It's kind of cool. It's got a nice little font. Other than that, it's a pretty standard Jefferson bottle. All right, let's dig into this, kiddos. I'm excited. I've been very excited before and been hopelessly let down. I hope that is not the case this time. Seal that one up. Let's put this here. All right, what do we got? I'm getting the salt. Now, here's the $1 million question: is that placebo, or am I actually getting a salt? If I'd have not known the story behind this, would I still have smelled that salt? I guess we'll never know. But yeah, I am getting it. You know what I'm getting, guys? I'm getting rum. I'm getting an old, aged, 10 to 12 year rum on the nose. Sugary, caramely, the burnt sugary. I'm not getting as much oak as you typically would from a bourbon. I'm not getting some of the spices you typically get from a bourbon. I am getting some of the subtle notes in a nice rum. Although rum, more than I think about it, some of the rum does have the salty, some of those almost like a sea. If you put sea salt on like a chocolate chip cookie, kind of gives you that nice, sweet, savory contrast. That you'll get that in a good rum, and I'm kind of getting that here. To me, the nose makes you interested. It's not a boring nose. I'm intrigued by the nose, and it makes me want to try the drink. So, I guess in that way, we'll say it's successful because I want to try this beer. Let's give it a shot. Healthy sip. Yeah, very briny, kind of that ocean sprayed flavor. It's apparent. I no longer think that it was the placebo effect. I think it's there. And I think it's pleasant. It's warm. You're getting some cinnamon notes. You're getting a little bit of the oak tannin. A very mellow mouthfeel. Not getting the burn, the tingle that sometimes you'll get in a younger spirit. And I even did kind of give that a nice swish around my mouth. Very nice finish, very warm, very delicate, very balanced. I'm happy with it. I really am, guys. The nose gets better. As I sit here and let it open up, the nose really kind of comes to age, comes to light. Well, I'm happy to report, in my humble opinion, it is not a marketing gimmick. It is. It helps with marketing. It does make it fun. It is a conversation starter, as it sits here on my one of my shelves here in the man cave. It's fun to talk about. I want to tell this story to people when they come down to the basement, but I now know that story has legs. It's not just a story. It's not just a bourbon they threw on a damn boat and we're able to now tell this tall tale. It's a bourbon that was put on the boat and was actually, it was changed. It doesn't taste like a bourbon that sat in a warehouse in central Kentucky and was put in a bottle after 6 or 7 or 8 years. It tastes different. I'm not good enough to tell you 100% certainty what those differences are. I did lay out a few of those, but it's nice. I think the salt is definitely there. I think it's got a bit of like maybe like a raisin or like a dark cake or fruits or something. It does have some of that rum influence, which I'm not really sure why, but I kind of am. It's nice. Really is nice. Grade, I give that an 8.25. Very nice. So thank you guys very, very much again for joining me. As always, I love the fact that you're enjoying these. Love the interaction that we've all been having. That just really, really love that back and forth, good and bad. I can take some of your flack when you guys don't agree with what I'm saying, but you know what I always tell you guys? It's my opinion. I'm not trying to talk you out of liking something or talking into something. I'm just telling you what I think, and hopefully, you can learn a little bit just by watching these and listening to some of the research that I have done. But yeah, I really like this. I don't know if I'll try the 2, at least not yet. The 3's nice. If you can find it, you have the $80, you're a bourbon guy, give it a shot. Thanks, guys, again, and as always, and until next time, next bourbon will be, you'll have to tune in to find out. Thanks, guys. Glasses up.